So, hello and welcome to the Walk Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford, normally joined by the best co host in the biz, Adam Mack, but filling in for him and maybe for a little while here, we have the one and only Joel LaFlamme. Hey, Commie, good sir. Thank you so much for taking the time, buddy. Really appreciate you filling in last minute here. Means a lot. We're going to get into what happened to Adam, but how you doing?
Doing well, doing well. A tip of the cap I see there, but
Tip
we're
of the
not tipping the
cap.
cap. We didn't tip of
The
the
old
cap last night to the Tigers. We actually hit some runs. We didn't
The
tip the
the old
cap to
John
them.
Schneider, the old
Yeah.
John Schneider, tip of
Oh,
the
tip
hat to you,
to the White Sox. Tip the cap to the Oakland Athletics.
buddy. This Blue Jays team's starting to show some life.
Who would have thought that a jacket would do it, right? Who would have thought that something as arbitrary as a piece of clothing that they don't need? But
Eight, 18 runs in the
yeah,
last two games.
yeah, the 3 9-run games or something in the last four, or you know,
Dude, in 2 days, this run differential has gone from negative 44 to negative 30. I mean, it's still disgusting, but
yeah.
not as disgusting. So, on that note, lots to talk about, grounds crew. We are going to get into this Blue Jays hot streak. 4 wins out of their last 5. I don't know if we can call it a streak, but one more win, and we're putting streak on the title, right? There we go. 3 in a row, officially a streak. They need a win tonight in Detroit to pull that off. The home run jacket is back. Everybody's talking about it. So, of course, we will touch on it as well. Davis Schneider. Dude, not not a typical leadoff hitter. In fact, if you were to say to me he was leading off at the beginning of the season, I would think that something had gone terribly, terribly wrong with George's health.
Hmm.
Um, Almost might be better if that was the case. However, he just has been struggling, and he's been moved down the lineup finally. And since Davis Schneider has been in this leadoff spot, and I know it's a small sample size, but Joel, I just saw this last night after the game. They are averaging 6.1 runs a game with Davis Schneider hitting leadoff, and the Blue Jays are 87% win percentage when they score 5 or more runs. So, if Davis Schneider, you're averaging 6 runs a game with him, and they win almost every game that they score 5 or more with, I mean, we'll save our bullets here. But the big question is, does George get that spot back at the leadoff if he starts to heat up, or do we just roll with the hot hand? Another thing I want to touch on, one of our topics for today, is last night the power went out. And of course, we all are aware that it affected the broadcast, both the Tigers and the Jays, but it also knocked out the internet for the teams playing the game, which meant for the first time in years, this Blue Jays team didn't have their trusty iPads in the dugout. And literally every single guy that it was brought up to was like, oh my God, it was amazing. It felt so good. It felt like a weight off our shoulders, which just hearing that is kind of angering. Again, we'll
Yeah.
save our bullets and get into it. I was just down in Buffalo, so we will talk the Bisons and just the experience down in Buffalo, and we'll end things off. We'll end the show with one of the worst calls I've seen. I mean, I would put it a top 10 worst call I've ever seen in baseball, a game-ending call where the ump just kind of took it into his own hands to decide that this is over. Of course, I'm talking about the Orioles and the White Sox. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's all over Twitter. But yeah, Joel and I will break it down here for you. And on that, let's start the show. So, first of all, Joel is going to be my co-host for the next little while. What happened here? And I just want to say that heart goes out to Adam and Michelle. Michelle is his wife. So she stepped off the end of a truck a few days ago, helping her sister move, and broke her leg. She spent 10 hours in the emergency room last night waiting to get in. I haven't heard the details yet from Adam because obviously it was a late night. Hopefully she is in for surgery to get this repaired shortly, but she is down and out. And Adam, unfortunately, on a comedian and podcaster's income, it looks like he's going to need to pick up some plumbing work. And he's just not going to be available over the next month or two while she is rehabbing. She's a nurse and got no preferential. That was the thing that blew my mind, Joel. She's a nurse and still had to wait 10 hours in the Alberta emergency room to get the doctor to be like, yeah, that needs surgery. Like, can you imagine being able to look at your own leg and be like, yeah, I need surgery, but you still need to go through the red tape and the process that is the medical system here? It just, anyways, we don't need to get into the politics of it, but just such a bummer for her, such a bummer for Adam. Heart goes out to both of you guys. Obviously, where Adam can join us, he's going to. The show is going to be it's going to be what it is over the next couple months. And Joel, just you taking the time, buddy, to kind of step up for Adam here means a lot, man.
Happy to be here. Happy to talk Blue Jays. Happy to fill in for Adam until he's, you know,
Until
metaphorically
he's
back on his feet,
until
right? Like it's
exactly.
not his feet, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm happy to step in for the next 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, and
Yes.
fill his very large shoes.
Adam Mack is on the IL, but not forgotten. And obviously, again, all the best to you, Adam, and to Michelle. And on that, we will turn our focus to baseball here. Quick plug here for Baseball Town, which is the live talk show that I'm going to be running May 30th. So 1 week away right now. Tickets, I am going to put the link in the comments section here. If I forget, please, somebody else grab the link and put it there for me. I know Mish and a few other folks in Patreon have actually picked up the slack here when I don't do the behind the scenes stuff very well, Joel. So it's a team effort here. The grounds crew stepping up big. I know that we have on the show Shoa Lee from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. He runs Jays Talk. We've got the boys from Blue Jays today, both Nick and Adam coming down, and I'm excited for that. We're going to do a little roast battle between teams. So representing the Toronto Blue Jays, we have Angelica Scanura, and then representing the New York Yankees, we have Cam Phoenix. These are two of the funniest comics in Toronto, and they are going to be ruthless, ripping each other's favorite teams apart. So that's very fun. And then, of course, I will be hosting the whole thing. We are going to have listener questions. We're going to be tossing Blue Jays talk around for about an hour. Tickets only $20. There's fees and taxes, folks. My apologies, but you do what you got to do. Again, link will be in the comment section. Okay. Joel, I know it's been a rough season. How are you feeling watching this team go 4-1 in the last 5 games, even though it is against the Chicago White Sox? I mean, we're throwing in a win against the Rays that last game. So, you know, a pretty substantial competitor there. Do you feel
Um,
they're righting the ship right now?
I think they're doing everything in their power to try. I have to give them credit for finally addressing the issues that are in front of them and trying to solve them with, the solutions always seem to be they'll come around, or uh, they're right there. Just give it some more time. It's still early. None of those things are the truth
Stay the
anymore.
course.
Sure,
It's a
yeah,
process. Yes.
to to the core, whatever. But it's the fact that they were finally able to. The biggest pride swallowing thing of this entire ordeal is moving George, right? And that's always been a thing for them, that they brought in this veteran who they thought was going to hit 450 in the postseason and hit nothing but homers and be this absolute playoff god to us and carry the day, World Series MVP in 2017. And that's just not been the case. And now you have to realize that at 34, the style of play, something drastically has to change for his style, for his offense to come back. You know, it's not, he is healthy. This is healthy George Springer.
Yeah.
And he's not performing. So something needs to be done, bat speed, mechanically, what pitch he's looking for. Does he look more for breaking balls now than he does fastballs? Does he have to turn his career into something kind of different? But until that happens, he's down the lineup, and you need the producers up at the top. You need, if Davis Schneider has an above 800 OPS, I don't care what the classical definition of a leadoff man is. I need somebody who's going to hit the ball. You know, that will do for right now. Somebody who will, you know, I don't care if it's walks. I don't care if stolen bases. Stolen bases for a leadoff man is, do you have that skill? If not, it's not a do all. It's
Yeah.
not a be all end all skill for being a leadoff hitter. It's just not. It's can you run decently well? You know, are you a station to station guy? You don't put station to station guys in the leadoff spot, obviously, but like a guy who can run like Davis Schneider, a guy hell who could run like Danny Jansen nowadays could be a
Mm-hmm.
leadoff guy. I'm not saying that that's the truth, but he's fast enough. If you're putting up that type of offense, I really don't care if you're stealing 60. I just care that you get a double, you're on for the other guys, that you're producing in some way offensively. That will work for what's behind. So I'm glad that move's been made. I'm really happy to see Danny in the top four.
Me too.
Whenever
And
I
and this is something that you've been pushing for over a year, and I've been kind of banging the drum as well. Just if you look at Danny's numbers over the last 3 seasons, and I know his injury problems have really prohibited him from being the guy that we really view him possible to be, which is in the same realm as Marcus Simeon, which I mean,
exactly
a little less power, but that said, Danny still has it in him to bang out 30 home runs, which would put him right close to the top of production for offensive catchers. And I know that this is going to drive some Blue Jays fans crazy. The term "it's early" gets tossed around pretty flippantly, and games in April mean as much as they do in September. All of
very true.
this preamble to say April is still early. And I know that now that we're into May, it's a whole other animal. And I really am having a tough time wrapping my head around why it took so long for them to move the guys who were hitting into the top of the order. Look at what it has done for this lineup. Look at what it has done for run production. We're talking about a team that waited 6 weeks to move down a literal black hole of offense in George Springer. Bo Bichette, same idea, right? They waited way too long to move him down. And Joel, look at what he has done in the last 10 days since they have finally made that move. Look at his numbers. He has been the Bo Bichette we all knew was in there. He has been the Bo Bichette with the career numbers that he has, you know, what he has shown in the past. If this team misses the playoffs by a game, by 2 games, it's going to be really difficult for this fan base not to look at how long it took for them to clump all their best hitters in the moment, right? I'm not saying Danny Jansen and Davis Schneider are the best hitters on this team, but they had been, and yet they still were getting hit in that 5, 6, 7 hole for so long, the whole month of April. I mean, Davis Schneider had to fight for an everyday spot on this team. So, with that knowledge, do you think it's a little bit too much loyalty, a little bit of malpractice on John Schneider and Atkins and the whole organization's
Yeah,
dish,
well,
I guess?
I think that there's no reason at all that it should have taken this long for Davis Schneider to legitimately crack the everyday lineup. I don't know how you have to perform, like his career now is like a 915 OPS over 60 games now, something in that realm. Like what
It sure speaks to pedigree, eh, buddy? Like
Sure, but it's
it really does speak to draft order, where he ranked in the prospect rankings, because you cannot convince me that if Davis Schneider had the same sort of hype Aroldis Martinez did, that there's any way in a million years it would have taken this long.
but I don't even understand why you can't build the hype. I don't understand why we can't build the hype around this guy. This guy screams Pedroia. He's got Pedroia like feel to him. This little guy who's got pop, and he's got more pop than Pedroia, to be honest. And I just don't understand why that type of success, day in, day out in front of you, able to play second base, able to play left field. We need offense. These things are all right there, but it takes 65 games for you to become a regular everyday player when
He's the only Blue Jay with an above 800 OPS.
I don't like and well, Danny now too, right? Danny's
Yes,
gotten
Danny
into
now
that
too.
level,
Yes.
getting
Yes.
injuries, right? So, but
Yes.
it's that both those players that Davis is a little bit less of time to prove it, but a lot of games, like I said, Danny has been this guy fundamentally for since 2021. Since 2021, Danny Jansen has been Marcus Semien at the plate. Now the
Mhm.
injury thing is fine, but you can't like, oh, he's injured a lot. Let's put him 7. No, when he plays, when he's playing, when he's on the field and hitting, he hits to the tune of a guy who would hit second or fourth or fifth. That's just statistically, by
Yeah.
looking at his numbers, where should this guy hit in your lineup? One of those spots.
Yeah.
And it's been that for 2.5 to 3 years. So for it to come now, when this podcast especially has been begging for him to be the 4-hole hitter
Mhm.
for since Teo leaving, and it's really, really, really shocking to think how much is lost on really basic general understanding of the talent that is in front of you and how to apply them for maximum effectiveness. It's kind of strange that it's you shouldn't see the ideas coming from the fan base and then weeks going by and then
Yeah.
them being applied. That just tells you that the minds in that front office might not be the sharpest knives, brightest bulbs in the drawer. I don't know, but
Joel, it was, let me pull up the exact number here so that I'm not giving out numbers here that
I
are
am just giving out
incorrect.
numbers, by the way.
I just want to bring up the fact that up until Bo Bichette hit a home run in the cleanup spot yesterday, maybe it was 2 days ago.
Oh no, don't do
Nonetheless,
this stat. I know what you're
nonetheless,
gonna say.
the Blue Jays hadn't had a home run out of the cleanup spot all season. Not only that, they set an organizational record for the most games without a hit, without a home run in the cleanup spot at 77. The next closest was 1989 with 76. So we're talking, you got to go back 25 years, a quarter of a century, the last time that we've seen that sort of power outage in the cleanup spot. And it makes no sense when you have a guy like Danny Jansen, like Davis Schneider, even like Bo Bichette. And again, Bo Bichette, we all knew was going to get going. It just took them too long to move him down the order and give him some time to get it right. So when
Well,
you have obvious guys who should be hitting cleanup and they're not, that's on
hey,
management.
hey, we did trade a legitimate 4-hole hitter for a guy who has an
Yes.
11 ERA, right?
Yes. Yes, we did.
So,
Yes, we did.
and
Yes.
yeah, we sure as hell did. And he's got what, 11 home runs for the Dodgers, 12, some
Yeah.
30 something RBIs. That to not know that what a 4-hole hitter is. It's just like a weird lack of knowledge that they thought a 4-hole hitter was a 9-hole hitter. You know, so
I mean, we've talked about this, Joel, and I think it's what rubs this fan base the wrong way about Atkins and just the Shapiro regime in general is that they always do act like they are the smartest baseball people in the room, and I would be fine with that if they were the smartest baseball people in the room. You know what? Like, if they constantly were getting it right, I would shut my mouth, and like, they've done some really good things, which is why I was on board with this front office for so long. In fact, they had gained my trust with what they had built in 2021 and 2022. So I know you weren't on board with the big shift towards defense, but I truly thought it was probably the right move, and I was wrong. I was dead wrong. All right. I personally undervalued how important Lourdes and Teoscar were to this lineup. I didn't think that them being subtracted from this team would affect the offense quite like it did. And I
That was
mean,
the core.
yeah,
That was the
man.
core of the team. The
Yeah.
team was Lourdes, Teo, Vladdy, and um, that was the core. That was who was having fun, who was making those games fun, who was putting
Mhm.
a smile on everybody's face so that you went up to the plate like this, not like scoffing and going, "Oh, he rolled over one," and where's the offense going to come from? Right? It wasn't that. It was very casual and let's go out there and have
Yeah.
fun and play the game that we love.
And this is a perfect transition to get into the home run jacket, which,
Mm,
listen, personally, I really could have given a shit about the jacket. I wasn't against it. I wasn't for it. It was fun. It was annoying when they were losing by a lot and still
mm.
celebrating with the jacket. It was intoxicating when they would come from behind or something like that with a big home run and got to strut around in the jacket. You know, like there was both the highs and lows with it. And I just was more or less indifferent. I enjoyed it when it was fun, thought it was silly when it was over the top. And I think there's a lot of people in that boat. And there's a lot of people who absolutely love the jacket. And I think that that's great because it does add an element of fun to this team that obviously had been lacking. And that said, we are going to do the disclaimer here. We're well aware winning games is fun. That obviously helps the mojo of a team is putting up W's. That goes without saying. But
I
what lacked on this team was like this unifying force. And watching it come back, Joel, with a guy who I think was the driving force for it to originally disappear, Bo Bichette.
mm,
And the smile he had as the first guy to don that jacket, right? Remember, they brought out the carpet,
mhm.
and that was the first few home runs was the carpet. And I think they just were like, you know what? If we're going to fucking unroll a carpet, like, let's bring it back. And I think that just the whole team being on board with bringing it back and it being a slightly different jacket and it's got the Canadian sleeve now and it's a bigger jacket so it can fit Vogie. Uh, you know, uh, how do you feel about the home run jacket going back? Because obviously it's not a baseball thing, right? It's a mojo thing. Like a jacket, a piece of clothing. I don't care how you view
It's
this.
baseball. I think that's the most
It's
baseball thing, though. I really like,
yes.
and I was somebody who originally didn't like the jacket being used in those. There's those situations where you're down 8-1. It's just no, you're out of it. You're out of it. You hit a home run in the ninth with 2 outs. Is that jacket time? So there was a situational time where it was being used, which just didn't really make sense. Which I
Yes.
was kind of against in the beginning, but the enthusiasm, the rallying point. Is it a rally monkey? Is it an old sausage in Minnesota? Like, what
Yeah.
is the thing that brings you together? Is it a black cat that runs out on the field? Is it what is it? It's something like
Yeah.
that. Really has in this game, in this weird abstract sport that we love so much. That has just as much meaning as some pitching coach changing your canvas, right? It weirdly does. That feeling of enthusiasm that courses through you, the bird bath that they do in Baltimore. They've embraced it. They made it something that is who they are. And I go back all the way to Ted Williams hitting 400. Okay. And his manager, the last day of the season, he was hitting 399.5. They were going to round it up to 400. He actually had to have some hits. He needed to get his average up on the last,
Mhm.
it was like a doubleheader. He needed to get his average up to hit 400. And he's sitting there and he's nervous all day, all night, and wants to hit 400. His manager tells him, you can't hit 400 unless you're loose. And I think of
In a
loose
time in
passage.
baseball, where playing loose isn't something you heard all the time.
Yeah. No, very much so. Very much so. And the same thing, I remember Thurman Munson going to Goose Gossage for the Yankees, late 70s, worried, Goose Gossage all tense, worried about a batter at the plate. And Thurman Munson comes up to him and says, "What's going to happen if you give up a home run? You're going to be home on the farm tomorrow throwing hay bales. What's the big problem? What are you so worried about?" And Goose Gossage calms down, throws 102 on the next pitch, strikes the guy out. And he's like, Thurman's like, "That fastball had another 2 feet on it than anything you've thrown on it all day." And it's because he was loose. It's because he was relaxed. It's because he was in the moment, but he wasn't tense. And if you're tense isn't going to help hitting. It's not going to help pitching. You got to have this relaxation. You've got to have this poise, this smoothness to the moment. And I think that the jacket takes, sometimes you think too much.
Yeah.
And sometimes putting on a jacket and everybody smiling together is where your headspace needs to be successful in this game. So I am so excited that it's back.
And it's interesting to watch the best teams in baseball, right? Because they do play loose. I know that there was a scenario in LA that happened with the Dodgers just a couple days ago, and some of you might have seen it. But Shohei Ohtani was going up to bat, and some of his teammates started being like, "Oh no, they're pulling you. We're going with a pinch hitter." And Shohei's face was complete and total shock, right? He was just like, and then he caught himself realizing that he looked absolutely like he was questioning everything on the planet, and he turned into a good teammate, right? And he was just like, "Oh yes, okay, I'm sitting down." And then the whole bench bursts out laughing because they were having some fun with him. Obviously, they weren't about to pinch hit for Shohei Ohtani in the 7th inning up by 1 run, right? So, and Shohei just burst out laughing when he figured it out, went up and hit a double. So there is something to be said for like the goofing around, the good version of boys will be boys, the ball busting, the staying loose. And when you see it being done by the best teams in baseball, then yes, put on the frickin' jacket. Do a little dance and unroll that carpet, baby.
Well, you got to also realize, I think that we realize that the Dodgers are, the Dodgers and Braves are considered the top front offices in sport. And Dodgers confidently brought in Teo. They happily brought him. And Teo's personality has taken, Teo's throwing spits in Otani's face.
Oh yeah.
Otani hits a ball and Otani comes in and just a bunch of spits from the outside of the frame just go and hit him, and he just starts smiling.
Yeah.
He just starts smiling as somebody throws spits in his face. And it's just like, he takes over a clubhouse, right? That smile and that personality takes over a clubhouse.
He is one of the more charismatic characters out there. And that was one thing I just didn't give Teo enough credit for when he was a member of the Blue Jays. And I'll be honest, I really liked Hernandez the whole time he was here. I only had good things to say about Teoscar outside of some blunders in right field, which he was an adventure out in the outfield at times. And I know you love Teoscar, and you would never say he wasn't, right? Like, we're all well aware of his highs and his lows, his abilities and his inabilities. But one thing that I didn't truly appreciate enough was what glue he was in the clubhouse. And I'm so happy to see guys like Varsho, guys like Bo starting to be crack a little, starting to be like, you know what? We should be having fun, because holy crap, the pressure on us right now is insane. And let me tell you, I know that the Jays fandom the fan base isn't quite the Yankees, but listen, it could not have been an easy last 6 weeks for these guys with what they're dealing with the stakes on the line, right? Because Joel, we both know. I mean, Kevin Gausman was so astute about it. He said it himself. This team is not going to be together very long if they don't start putting up some W's.
Well, they got booed off the field against Crochet.
Yes.
What does that feel like? What's that taste like when your home fan base is booing you off the field in the new renovations, right? Like, hey, here's your brand new, we put all this work in and this is the product, and we boo it. So it's like, maybe that was a nice slap in the face to hear that from your, booing is a weapon. When you boo,
Yeah.
it sends a message. And when you hear cheers, cheers, and then all of a sudden the people who should be behind you are booing you. And it was deserved. It was
Yeah.
deserved
It
boos.
was
They should
deserved boo.
have booed.
You should not lose
And
5-0 to the Chicago White Sox. No offense to Garrett Crochet, but honestly, stop tipping your fucking hat. Okay?
mhm,
Like there's a point where you just gotta dig deep and play baseball the right way. And they just didn't play baseball the right way that game, man. They just
every
didn't.
pitcher in the postseason is Garrett Crochet. So, it's just if you want to win, that's the guy you got to be able to beat. And yeah, so that was a nice little rude awakening for them. Hopefully that sent them a message. And yeah, a loose mentality for the rest of the season. Just go out there and do what you guys know how to do. And then hopefully positionally they're put in the right places to succeed. And it's season's not over yet. And this last
Season's
little
not
flop.
over yet, and they have dug themselves a hell of a hole, but all this team can do is play one game at a time. I mean, it's easy for you and I to sit here and be like, they need to sweep Detroit. They need to go into Chicago, and they need to sweep the White Sox. They need to go on a hell of a run. All of this is true. But if you're a player in that clubhouse, you cannot be thinking about it like that because that is far too big of a mountain to climb, right? It's one game at a time. They got one last night when they needed it big. They hung in there against a tough pitcher, and then they got to the bullpen. And you know what? If that's the way this team's got to operate, I'm fine with scoring 8 runs between the 7th and the 9th inning. Go ahead. Play a 1-0 game, be that team, and come out and destroy the bullpens when you get a pitcher you can get some hits off of. And that's exactly what they did last night. So
Yeah, and they seem to have a new mentality when it comes to attacking the first pitch, being more aggressive on strikes early. That was something I just didn't understand was that they were very willing to let strikes go by in the count, get behind, and then try to tackle strikes when behind in the count, try to tackle pitches. Hopefully that you're in a 1-2 count, you're going to get a pitch to hit. Like that's not really how it works.
it was
So
obviously their approach, right, man? Like, this is something that obviously was targeted over the last 18 months that they struck out too much. Let's lower our strikeouts. Let's wait and be patient. And you know what? It just has not worked because you know what is happening in baseball right now? Every single guy's out there throwing strike one, a breaking pitch for strike one down the center. Like the amount of get me over strikes we see in today's game is far greater than anything we saw even 5 years ago,
well,
right?
yeah, it's the mentality that they're sitting there looking fastball to start. So flip something in there, we'll
Yeah.
be ready for it. Get
Yep.
ahead. Oh, but what you need to be as a hitter is ready to hit something that's over the plate. You just need to be able to look for a ball that you can recognize out of the hand that you can put a good swing on. And you got to put that swing on early. And yeah, like we were Vladdy is capable of hitting pretty much any ball in the strike zone hard, right? So, I want 3 good swings. I don't want 2 takes and swinging when you've got 2 strikes, right? I want when the pitcher's trying to be aggressive in the strike zone, I want you being aggressive in the strike zone.
These last 2 games is the first time that this team has hit 2 home runs in a game in back-to-back games since literally the beginning of 2023, dude. Like the lack of power that I know, right? So the lack of power has been a big problem with this team. And it's personnel. It is absolutely personnel. But I think, and we've touched on it already, it's mojo, right? Like watching IKF and Bo Bichette bang out a couple dingers last night, it was so refreshing. It's something that just hasn't been the case this year. And so they need to take this momentum and they need to run with it. And a big part of the turn of this momentum was finally moving Springer down the lineup and moving Davis Schneider up. And I know that we've already kind of touched on it throughout this podcast, but let's talk Davis Schneider a little bit. Do you think at this point he's is he a full-time player even if he slumps?
On this team, 100%.
He better
I,
be, right? Because he is
I
going to
don't,
slump. He is going to slump.
he's going to slump, but like the, I, for a guy his size, his strike zone isn't the biggest in the world, so he doesn't have as
Mhm.
much to cover. And he hits the mistake pitch. He hits the mistake hard. You throw
Mhm.
a mistake to him, you throw a breaking ball that's over the middle of the plate, and he's ready to hit it whatever the count is. So he may, he may be streaky, but this goes back to the same concept of like, what the fuck is streaky in Major League Baseball? What
Yeah,
is that?
exactly. Yeah.
I don't even understand. I'm not gonna like,
That's
what is streaky?
like
All
it's
guys don't
all
go
guys are
through
streaky.
spells. Yeah, it's just like, what are you at the end of the year? What does your baseball card say at the end of the year? Does it say 275, 25, 90? Does it say that? Like, does it say 25 home runs, 90 RBIs, bat 275? Oh, but May was tough. I'm like, I don't give a shit, right? It's
I,
it's a full season, and you're gonna have your ups and downs, and that's the
one
guy
thing
is
I
earned.
One thing I will give a lot of credit to Davis Schneider for is his baseball acumen. Because, man, what's between the ears is really impressing me. And I think that one of the reasons that he has become so intellectual when it comes to the hitting side of the game is that he has dealt with major slumps. He has dealt with moments where he's questioned whether professional baseball is something he should continue to pursue. He has had those moments throughout the minor leagues where he just felt like he'd never hit again. And he has become very consistent in his approach and what he is doing. And you see it in the games where he will recognize a moment and change the way he is viewing his at bat to match that moment. I know we saw it last night. He got a single with 2 outs to drive in a runner from third base. This is something that he went up there swinging, right? He knew there were 2 outs. He knew that there was no way this guy was scoring without him getting a single, and he went to work, right?
Mhm.
He went in there with his game face on, ready to drive in that run, get that RBI that everyone says doesn't matter. But I'll tell you what, it matters, and it matters big. And I think that George Springer had been slumping to such a point that it had messed with the way he viewed the game. And he wasn't going into those approaches in the same way. He was going to try and bust out, which is the worst thing you can do when you're not hitting, right? You got to play the game the right way. And I think that moving George Springer down in the lineup has allowed George some breathing room. It has allowed him to maybe get his game back together. We're not seeing big progress yet, but I'll tell you what, George Springer in the 7 hole sure makes me feel a lot better than him getting one extra at bat than every single other player on this team, especially when he's not using his brain the way that we're seeing Davis Schneider use it in these big moments, right? Because it's
And
so easy to just go up there and just not change your approach with 2 outs, right? Just do what you're always doing.
I've only seen one swing in my life from George Springer. I've never seen the cut it down, shoot the ball to the opposite field swing. I've never seen any of those things. I've only seen one swing. It's swing as hard as you can, spin around as a top, and drill yourself all the way to China. Like
Yes.
that's the swing that I see from George Springer all the time. I've never seen anything change. Um, Also, with Davis, he is so exceptional with lefties on the mound. So to me, when lefties are on the mound, maybe Davis is moved into a more of a 4 spot. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
lead off against righties, maybe 4, and Danny could be 5, and those 2 guys are hitting lefties in the 4-5 hole, where you've got like legitimate pop. Like I think Snyder's OPS against lefties is above 1,000 for his career. So it's like, when does that? When do you say, well, we've been hitting a 7th in the lineup, blah blah blah, and there's a lefty on the mound, but this guy smashes lefties. He just absolutely smashes them, and we've missed Lourdes and Teo and Gabby all smashed lefties. They all obliterated lefties. So it's a situation where you've got one guy on the team who sees that left handed arm slot and goes, I tune this up. Everything's coming into me. I'm going to hit way better against this guy than I am somebody who's throwing sliders in the dirt that I have to reach for. And so it's kind of that knowledge of, is it a singular lineup based on success? No, there's probably a righty lineup here and a lefty lineup. They probably look very different from each other if you want the most success from the players in their positions. It's not just a static, this guy's leading off all the time, right?
And I think that when you look at George Springer, he's going to really need to prove himself at this point to get back into that leadoff spot. I mean, if the management is doing things the right way, he's going to really need to show some progress, because I do not want to see him back in that number one hole until he's forcing the issue. And
Well, he's
and
behind
listen, go ahead, yeah.
Davis. He's behind Davis, Bo, Vladdy, Jansen, Varsho, um, Snyder. He's the
Yeah,
seventh hitter on the team. IKF is a better hitter,
he
right?
is.
Eight,
Right
right?
now he
So it's
is.
just like, right? So it's like he is the eight hole guy. He is that guy on this team until he's not.
So we're seeing some positive regression here from this team over the last couple weeks, and a lot of it stemmed from them mixing up that batting order and moving guys down like Bo, like Springer. Bo has caught fire since they moved him down. But more so than that, something really interesting happened last night. So not only is this team playing with more confidence, with more mojo, the fun seems to be back, the home run jacket. There's just like a lot of things that have happened. And then on top of that, and we've talked about this, Joel, because something similar happened in Seattle, but it wasn't forced, right? So Seattle at the end of April was going through one of the biggest slumps offensively that team had seen since 2021. They were absolutely scuffling, and I know that the host of the Walk-Off Mariners, Juan Forno, brought up a stat that was eye-popping to me, which is when the Seattle Mariners score 3 or more runs, they win 80% of the games. Now, Joel, just let that stat sit in your head for a second. Like, the Blue Jays constantly are touted as a team that wins on pitching and defense. The Mariners are a team that win on pitching and defense. Think about that. They win 80% of the games they score 3 or more runs on. That's
They
absolutely
should they should
insane.
win 80% of their games. That's just
That's
what that
lit.
should mean. You should score on average 3.5 runs a game and 4 runs
Now,
a game, and you should win 80% of your games.
Now, over the last 2 weeks, the Mariners have started to score more runs. And one of the things that triggered this is they put a ban in the dugout on the iPad.
Love it.
A very similar thing happened last night to the Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays and the Tigers, for all of us who were watching it on TV, it was kind of it was a unifying moment as a fan
Oh my
base, I
God.
think. Like, it was
I
really cool.
I enjoyed watching a like analog baseball telecast where there was no digital crap on it. Like Jamie
Oh,
had to step in and do the broadcast at the beginning, and it was just
bro,
like,
well, we're tipping hats here. Like, tip of the hat to Jamie Campbell and Caleb Joseph, who and listen, tip of the hat to Dan Schulman and Joe Siddle too, who called that game on a telephone for 4 innings, I think it was. But the fact that Jamie Campbell, who hadn't done play-by-play since I think it was 2007, the last time he called a Blue Jays game, stepped in and just like started calling the game randomly from a scoreboard camera feed. Like, I was so
from a
blown away, and
from
he
a
was doing such a good job.
judging by Kevin Gosman's reaction, that could be a double play. Right? Like
Oh,
it was like
it was beautiful. It was
I was
beautiful.
over head, but you know what? Judging by his reaction, that looked like a double play. And you're just like you're having to call it from one viewpoint, then cutting to like pretty girls in the crowd
I
every
know,
single.
just guys chugging beer and stuff. It was just like, yeah, it was so funny and it was so
It
great.
was
And
it
honestly,
was no little box around the
it was
strike zone, and it was just baseball. You
it
know, there
added an
wasn't.
element of romance that I hadn't seen in a broadcast in so long. It was beautiful. But all of this to say the Blue Jays and the Tigers didn't have the use of replays or dugout iPads for almost the entire game Thursday because the internet was done. So the Blue Jays literally had to take all their technology, all of their analytics, all of their information, and set it aside and just play baseball, see ball, hit ball. And this is Dalton Varsho. I think it helped us In fact, I think it helped us a lot. It makes you go back to old school baseball. And that sums it up.
We were talking about it for the Mariners like a month ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I bring this back to Phillies and Astros in the World Series. And this was 2 years. This is the Astros when they won. And that lineup, especially Bryce, was deciphering what Lance McCullers was throwing on the mound. And it was not through iPad, it was through this batter is getting this batter is getting, watching every single at bat, watching how he approaches the lefties, watching how he approaches the righties. 3 or 4 lefties had been up. McCullers is not throwing sinker. He's not throwing anything fast. He's afraid to throw velo to the lefties. Bryce picks this up, passes it down the line. If you're a lefty, look, breaking ball. Alec Bohm
Because
comes up to the
Joel,
plate.
he
He's the
knows what
righty.
he's looking for.
Exactly. He knows what he's, but that's the George, that's what you want George Springer to do.
Yes.
What George Springer is there to do is truly analyze the approach that George is a nice guy, fun-loving guy. George isn't he's not Bryce Harper dialed in.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
He's not. Bryce sits there, analyzes every pitch, because he's analyzing it for his entire team, right? So when he's passing down info for the lefties, look, breaking ball, but then the at bat that Alec Bohm had, okay, which I always go back to this at bat. Alec Bohm is sitting there with Bryce before he comes up to the plate, and Bryce is whispering in his ear. And everybody's thinking Lance McCullers is tipping pitches. Lance McCullers' knee is coming up high. His glove separation is different. That's where everybody's looking. That's where everybody's looking. Everybody in Major League Baseball is looking for some tipping point of why Lance McCullers is getting blown up so much. Bryce knows what he's throwing. Bryce knows what he's throwing. Goes up to Alec Bohm. He's throwing us breaking balls. You're a righty. You're like 25. Look, first pitch fastball. Look that. He hasn't thrown one in a long time. Okay. You're coming up. You're a righty. He's going to try to get that pitch over. First pitch, low sinker in. Bohm's looking for it, smashes it over the fence. And they're like, was he tipping? And they didn't talk about it for like 6 months. And they're like, no, he just was throwing this way to lefties and this way to righties. And that needed to be passed down the line, right? That needed to be acknowledged. And because you're not going to go and look at some iPad and say, hey, this is how he's pitching you right now here in this moment. It's more about now. It's more about acknowledging the game in the moment than it is some historical thing about how he approached you 3 years ago when he was on the Chicago White Sox and you were on the Kansas City Royals. That doesn't mean anything. Look at the game now. Okay, focus on that, because that's a hell of a lot more important than assuming that he is going to directly replicate something he did in the past.
This reminds me of when we sat down with Eric Gagne a couple weeks ago, which, by the way, everybody, that interview will be out ASAP. Just gotta, with Adam on the DL here on the IL, I gotta figure some stuff out, but we will have that out ASAP. But Eric brought up an incredible point that we're literally just talking about right now, which is that the biggest thing with analytics, and he loves analytics, he had nothing but good things to say about them. But he did say that what analytics have been doing to young players, it's been giving them the blueprint as to what to do, but it doesn't tell them why. And if you don't know why you're doing something, then you're never going to pick up on when to do it, which is literally what Joel just spent the last 2 minutes talking about with his example of Alec Bohm being told by Bryce Harper what to be watching for when he goes up to bat. Because Bryce Harper knows the math of baseball. He knows why 1 + 1 is 2, right? Whereas, like, there's a lot of kids that are just told 1 + 1 is 2, and they're like, okay, I'm 2. I'm looking for 2, right? Like, but there is the math of understanding why you're doing something, and that's something that's just lacking right now, or maybe even not lacking as much of, like, guys aren't being forced to think that way anymore. They're just fed what they're doing.
Would you rather trust a device that, here, go look at the device and pull your own interpretation from it? Pull your own, that you just see them there, and they're like, they're there and they're looking at something, and you're like, there's no coach next to them. They're just looking at something, and you're like, what are you getting from that? As opposed to Bryce, who's analyzing there, and Bryce's baseball mind is Bryce's baseball mind, and he knows how to dissect a pitcher. You've got a guy who is probably the best at dissecting pitch by pitch in the moment and for an entire career on your team. That's the guy you should be. That's your analytics.
Yeah.
That's your tablet. Go to
Yeah.
him. Go,
Yeah.
and that's what Springer needs to be on this team, is this guy who you can go, oh, I've been in situations with this guy with runners on second base. He's going to try to get me to reach for something. You swing kind of like I do, Vladdy, or somebody, and he's going up to a righty, and he's saying, I can see me in 2017, I was getting this from him, right? Now you're probably going to be the one who's going to get that style of pitching. So look breaking balls away. Look this, and then lay off that sinker that he's going to throw you, because he's going to throw inside, but he's going to throw to miss. Okay. And then he's going to try to get you away. That's just the way that he is. Like, it feels like those conversations about experience and knowledge and what you're seeing in the moment are so much more valuable than some, I'm going to go look at this thing because I think that this is what I need to be looking at. Like, you're not even looking at the right damn thing. It's like
So
you're looking at a
my
pitcher from 3 years ago who didn't even throw a splitter. Now he throws a splitter. What are you doing?
So we will move on from this point. However, I will end this topic with a question for you.
Hmm.
You heard what Dalton Varsho said. He liked the going back to old school baseball. This is a team who has numerous times done things differently and seen success and then gone right back to the way they were doing things. Do you think that this is going to send any sort of signal to the manager, to the brass, to John Schneider, to Ross Atkins, or even to the leaders in that clubhouse, that maybe every once in a while a break from all of this information, a break from all this technology is not a bad thing, and that maybe just using your baseball smarts is the way to go at times? Or do you think that we're going to be right back to the iPads after every single at bat and the information constantly being shoved down these guys' throat, for
Well,
good
I,
or
I
for
think
bad?
I think Moneyball, point of Moneyball, does such a great example of showing you all the analytics all movie long. And this team is built off analytics, built off analytics, built off analytics. And the brilliant storytelling of, all right, Hattie, you're up. You're pinch hitting for Bernsey. And Scott Hatterberg's been on the bench all game. And the announcers are like, well, up comes Hatterberg. He's probably going to look to draw a walk here, right? And all the expectations of the way the analytics play out. This is a walk first type guy.
Yeah.
Sees a ball, ball one, sees another one out of the hand, he can handle it, hits it out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's what the moment gives you, right? And you can sit there and plan all you want, but if you're not prepared to take what the moment gives you, then are you really prepared?
So will
Right?
they take what the moment gives them?
That's what if they don't, this is you're in a point where everybody's job is on the line, and you've got the players enthusiastic. You've got the players saying this felt right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not going to go with that, that's what we need now. We need
Yeah.
things feeling right. We need things feeling like baseball. This felt like baseball to me again. I was
Yeah.
in there, and I felt like I was back doing the thing that I had loved and wanted to love, and I wasn't caught up being an accountant. I didn't join this game to be an accountant and
Yeah.
manage all of these numbers. I came here because I could throw really well, and I can catch the ball really well, and I can hit the ball to the gaps incredibly well. Do what you do, and find your moment in the moment, and stop analyzing and hoping that, hey, this situation came up here. Look for this. No, it's what is here and now. Don't escape the here and now.
Okay. So Tuesday and Wednesday, I was in Buffalo. I was covering the Buffalo Bisons, which was honestly, dude, such a dream come true. It felt so surreal. Like walking into the press box and seeing the stadium from that vantage point, it it felt like a dream. And then the next day, getting to go down onto the field when there's just the grounds crew and do a hit from down on the field, then going up to the guys and getting an interview with Will Robertson on the field and talking to the assistant general manager. It was so darn cool. And I wrote a little bit about it. You can actually check out the article at crier.co. It's Go to Buffalo is the name of the article. But basically, I'm I'm convinced if you are a fan of good baseball, you will really enjoy a Buffalo Bisons game. This is obviously the AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. They're playing good baseball. They're 26-21 this year, and they've got 3 guys on this team that I'm pretty convinced are all going to make their major league debuts this year. I shouldn't say 3 because Spencer Horwitz was obviously called up last year, but let's talk these 3 guys really quickly, okay? Because Spencer Horwitz is currently solidified himself as the leadoff guy for the Buffalo Bisons for no other reason than this guy, say it with me, Joel, gets on
On
base.
base. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
450 OBP.
Yeah. Is he a
Leads.
typical, is that a typical like leadoff guy with speed, slappy Ricky Henderson? No, he's a first
No,
baseman.
he's a first baseman. He leads the AAA league in doubles, by the way. He hits doubles, he hits singles, and he gets on base. Now, I think that Spencer would already be a member of this Toronto Blue Jays team along with Ernie and Davis if he had any power. He doesn't. He's got 3 home runs on the year. He will run into a few. He's a guy that at the big league level would probably, after 162, have 5 to 10 dingers, but he's not putting up those big power numbers that everyone feels like the Jays need, because it is what has been lacking from this team. And it's really too bad that Spencer is blocked so badly. How do you get around Vladdy? The only other position he plays and not that well is left field, which you're already kind of crowded there between, I mean, the Kiermaier signing still kind of confusing to me because it would sure open things up a lot more if KK wasn't here. And I love Kevin Kiermaier. I'm not putting him down. He just is an odd fit on this team for 2024. But Spencer Horwitz will be eventually given his opportunity to come back up to the big leagues and show what he can do. I think playing time is the big thing blocking him right now. Talking of power, Aroldis Martinez. So while I was there, dude, I watched him hit his 11th home run of the year, which put him only 2 behind the entire league lead and obviously put him number 1 on the Bisons for home runs. He hit another one last night, putting him at 12. The kid hits bombs. Everyone in Blue Jays land is like, why is this guy not on the Blue Jays? And listen, I watched him for 2 games. I'm going to tell you why. His defense and his head just isn't there yet. Love the kid. I really do. And I think that there are big things coming for Aroldis. I just don't think it's in 2024. Will he get a taste of the majors this year? Yes, he will. I do think he'll make his major league debut this season. He's raw. Like, that was one thing watching him. I was like, holy shit, this kid is raw. Like, and for those of you wondering what I mean, like, I just mean talent wise, watching him defensively, you can see the wheels turning as the game is going, and it's not
He's hitting.
muscle memory. Exactly.
He's hitting when he's out in the field.
Yes. Yes. That's actually a great way of putting it. He's hitting when he's out in the field. So
Yeah.
defensively, the kid has a long way to go. I think just mentally to make those choices without any sort of hesitation, without any sort of blip, you know, he needs a little bit more seasoning. Now, is his power tool ready? Yes. He could hit dingers in the big leagues right now. But can he mentally deal with them adjusting to him and him going 0 for or 1 for 30 and it being 1 home run? I don't know if he is there yet. He's 22 years old. So For everyone yelling and screaming, this is absolutely insane that this front office hasn't brought him up. And I was in the same boat. Going down to Buffalo and actually watching the kid did open my eyes to, yeah, he's still rough around the edges in a lot of these areas. Need to improve a bit before he can be an everyday big leaguer. And I don't think bringing him up to just sit on the bench is the way to do it, because he has so many more tools and so much more potential than a guy like Otto Lopez. Like, remember when Otto Lopez was brought up for the 2022 and he just sat on the bench, right? He's not that prospect. He's not a guy that's just going to fill a hole. And if he gets hot when given the opportunity, great. Kind of Davis Schneider-esque, right? But if not, whatever. Aralvis is a true talent that they're trying to bring up the right way. Can we see him as an everyday Blue Jay in 2025? I hope so. The last guy I want to talk about, Will Robertson. This is a lefty who was drafted 4th round in 2020. And what he has accomplished in the last 4 years is truly impressive, because he really, anyone who had to go through the COVID season, it really kind of set these guys back. And so Will Robertson, now 26 years old, he's middle of the order bat for this Bison's team. He is second in RBIs behind only Aralvis. He is a guy who drives in runs, and that's an exciting prospect to have as a left-handed bat. He's going to get his opportunity this year, I think, in the big leagues. Will he run with it? I don't know. But those are 3 guys that, yeah, Blue Jays fans, you should be excited about, and you're going to see this year. You're probably going to see this year. Also, before I move on to this final topic here, Joel, for everyone in Toronto, it took me 2 hours to get to Buffalo. And I'm not exaggerating. I left my house at 11:01. I'm Bloor and Ossington area. Okay. 11:01 a.m. I was at the hotel checking in at 1:04 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. So literally an hour and 3 minutes, or 2 hours and 3 minutes to drive from Toronto to Buffalo and check into the hotel. The games are $21 US, and you're sitting anywhere in the lower ball. My wife bought tickets and was literally 10 rows back from the action. Every food item there, $10 or less. Beers, for the large beer, $10. Like, you can literally go watch really good baseball in Buffalo. Salem Field is beautiful. You've got the renovations that they've done in 2021. If it's not a big league park, but it's an impressive little park. They've been there since 1988. Go check out the Bisons.
They're the pilgrimage. Like, I just hate the fact that we missed each other for spring training this year.
Oh,
But
so
going to
close.
see spring training games and that little intimate ballpark, TV ballpark,
Oh,
and going to see the Braves in theirs, going to see Pittsburgh play in theirs, and just the intimacy of those AAA style ballparks with about 4,000, 5,000 fans, funny little organ player, old, just all the old things that it just reminds you of a different time period in the game. And then you sit down, and if you're a real baseball fan, which I'm in Edmonton and I don't get to go to that much live baseball, but the second that you sit in a crowd and you don't know any of these people, but you start cheering together, and then some sort of conversational topic comes up about a player,
mm-hmm.
and even if they're on the rival team, but you
Yeah,
just know baseball enough, and you're not sitting there going like, "Oh, it's Blue Jays versus Pirates. Fuck the Pirates." You know,
yeah,
I'm happy to see the Pirates succeed. I'm happy to
yeah.
see some great baseball moments. I'm going to cheer amazing catch from both teams, right? And you get there, and you're just in the environment of it. It's just so great and heartwarming, and
Hey,
I
couldn't agree more.
jealous. I'm
Couldn't
jealous that
agree more.
you got AAA 2 hours away. You got the real thing just what,
Yeah,
5 minutes away? Oh, I gotta get out of here, man. I gotta get out of here.
yeah. Well, I look forward to when you make a trip to Toronto, buddy. I'll make sure to take you down to Buffalo and show you the stadium and stuff. And
Maybe I'll come for
obviously,
TIFF.
you absolutely should. Spare room here with your name on it, my friend. we'll make this podcast studio a little bit more homey for you.
I like it.
Okay. We're long in the tooth here. Joel, so appreciate you joining me, my friend. Last thing we're going to talk about, White Sox, Orioles last night. Game 8-6. The Orioles are up. Ninth inning. The White Sox have a runner on first. They have a runner on second. 1 out in the game, or 1 out in the inning, okay? White Sox threatening to tie this thing up. Then the White Sox pop up in the infield, and everyone thinks that the infield fly rule is on. But what happened is, the second baseman for the Orioles is coming in. Andrew Vaughn, who is on second for the White Sox, is going back to second base. Barely got in the guy's way. Honestly, he saw him and went around him. There was no problem.
Yeah.
Caught it. No, like literally, there was.
It was Gunnar.
It was Gunnar.
Yeah.
And
Gunnar just walks around him, gets to the ball, waits 3 seconds, puts his glove up, catches the ball. Just absolutely not interfered with in any way to make this play. Casually said, "Oh, the route that I should take is just going around this guy."
Yeah.
Because I can do that to get to this ball. There's just absolutely no interference.
Vaughn, by the way, on the base path, and only a few feet from second base. So, like, this is just a typical run-of-the-mill, everyday play. Andrew Vaughn just doing what he would do in any scenario, or what any guy would do in any scenario. Then the umpire decides that this is interference and calls him out, making that 3 outs, eliminating the White Sox chance at a comeback. And listen, I am well aware the White Sox suck, but to end the game in this way, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in baseball.
The double ties it. The double with 2 outs ties it. So, it's just like, have we gotten to a point where the umpires are stepping in far too much and getting their voices heard far too much because they see the end in sight, right? Is the robot umpires are coming in, and because this hell, there's conspiracies going on where like Major League Baseball have paid the umpires to be stupid this year. Have you heard those conspiracies?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I wouldn't believe that until you saw how bad they were being.
Like,
it is.
It was such a horrible play, like such a horrible call in a regular scenario. Like, right? Like, call it the 3rd inning. That play is a horrible call. Horrible call. But to end a game in that fashion, man, like, I couldn't wrap my brain around it. It was just one of those things where I watched and I was like, this is fucked.
Oh, and it was instant. The call, like the third base umpire was just like, that's interference. He's like, that's 2 outs, game's over. Everybody's lost. Everybody's lost. The players were lost. The commentators were lost. The umpires were lost. Everybody was lost. And one person was like, I have to make a statement. This is my big moment.
Yeah.
This is my big time to be on the center stage, and I get to dictate something here. And it's like, I'm not big into the gambling stuff, but gambling is so wrapped up in this sport.
Yeah.
It's just so wrapped up in sports now. And somebody's sitting there and he's like, hey, you ruined my chances. It's like, somebody's got their house down on a White Sox win. Oh, they got 1,000,000 to 1 odds on the White Sox winning.
I mean, I can't wait for the John Boy breakdown, but man, the White Sox manager, and my apologies, his name is escaping me right now, but he was yelling, what was it? Oh, you just want to go home? You're just going to call it? You just want to go home? And I was like, that's how I felt. I was like, wow, like, call him out. That's right. You want to go home? You're trying to beat traffic? Like, what's going on here? Like, anyways, really glad it didn't happen to the Blue Jays, but honestly, just one of the worst calls I've seen in forever in baseball. And hopefully they won't. The league won't step in, but hopefully the league does step in and suspends the umpire for a game. At least slap him on the wrist. Do something, because completely unacceptable to end a game in that way. Completely unacceptable. All right. We'll wrap it up there. Joel, thank you so much, my man, for filling in for Adam. I know it means a lot to him. It means a lot to us. And the grounds crew, always happy to see you. We will see you on Tuesday for mailbag, and we'll go from there. Buddy, thanks again. Appreciate it. And for everyone else, grounds crew, you're very much appreciated. You can always follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast. That's how you get your mailbag questions in. Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. Baseball Town, May 30th at the Comedy Bar with Jays Talk host Shoa Lee and the boys from Blue Jays Today, Nick and Adam. Come on down. It's going to be a celebration of Blue Jays. Tickets just a little over $20. Tickets for that in the comment section for the link. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for following along.